Just very quickly, Neal, I just want to talk about, so while you're perfecting this system and you're doing it out of being thrown into a project and then seeing the benefits that exist in real estate coming from the technology background, but then seeing the need that exists for such modeling and tech items, talk about where were you at in that time as far as being a passive or active investor when it was kind of concurrently going with creating the system. Just talk to us about that for a couple of moments before getting right into the process.
Yeah. So starting 2009, I started buying single family homes. I bought 10 in Madeira over a year and a half and leased them all up using my hacking methodology for rentals. And then I started investing in syndications, which were, multifamily, where people were buying these and I was just giving them $100,000 at a time. Then I started doing duplexes, then I started triplexes, then I started quadplexes, then I went to sevenplexes. By 2013, all of those methodologies where I was done with, because you can only get so many loans in the US, right? Then I was like, well, how do I raise this cap to an infinite level? And so in 2013, I was like, I want to buy my own multifamilies, not invest in other people's. And so that's when the big change came and I started investing in multifamilies. So right now I have 500 investors. There's about $350 million worth of multifamilies. I buy them, I build them. Then over time, being the mad scientist, I couldn't keep saying with a straight face that multifamily is the best. The truth is, multifamily is the best asset class in America most years, maybe 2/3 of the years. But then there's other years where it's mobile home parks, there's industrial, which has been very strong in the last 3 years because of e-commerce. There's storage, public storage. So these were other asset classes. So eventually I ended up jumping into those asset classes. In 1 year, it was student housing. So I jumped into that. So, but the pivot that you're asking, your question really was about the pivot. 2008, 9, 10 single family homes, then slowly moving up to, duplex, triplex, quadplex, sevenplex, and then 13 onwards, basically really moving into enterprise level multifamily, and then student housing, then industrial, then storage. And now I actually have come back, which what's interesting is what I build now is I'm no longer building large multifamily. What I'm building is very large fourplex communities. So as at a community level, it's still very large. It's enterprise, has, clubhouse, has, gym and all those kinds of things. But there's 30 individual investors owning them, because I found that was the most profitable for my investors, and they could keep those profits for the next 30 years and not pay taxes. So it's interesting how I evolve, right? So one of the things that is very dizzying about my investors is every year Neal Bawa talks about different things. And my answer is every year the world changes. If you keep selling what you're selling the previous year, then how can you be the mad scientist, right? You really have to go after what is the most profitable product of the year. And today, based on the taxation laws in the US, unquestionably owning fourplex is the best, right? So, I for people who don't have that kind of money, I still do syndication projects. Industrial in my mind is slightly better than multifamily, but the bread and butter is really large multifamily, and that's where I think people make a huge amount of money. Everything I'm about to teach you, location magic, applies to single family, right? But I think that there's going to be a time when you're going to get fed up with being a landlord in single family and move to being an investor in multifamily. It's a general, don't be in a hurry. It happens to everybody. In my case, it took 3 or 4 years for me to kind of make that transition. I made plenty of money during that time. So single family is awesome too.